The sky above the small coastal town turned dark in the middle of the afternoon. People stopped walking. Cars pulled over to the side of the road. Everyone looked up at the massive shadow that blocked the sun. A spaceship, larger than any building in the town, slowly descended from the clouds. It was black with silver lines running across its surface. The ship made no sound as it moved, which made it even more frightening. It floated above the ocean, just a few hundred meters from the shore. Was working in his small repair shop when he heard the screaming outside. He put down his wrench and walked to the door. His hands were covered in oil from fixing an old motorcycle engine. He wiped them on his work clothes and stepped outside. He saw the ship immediately. It was impossible to miss. Had seen science fiction movies before, but nothing could prepare him for the real thing. The ship was beautiful in a terrifying way. It hung in the air like it was part of the sky itself. People ran past him, heading away from the beach. Parents carried their children. Old people moved as fast as they could, but did not run. He stood there and watched. A small door opened on the bottom of the ship. A platform lowered slowly, carrying a single figure down to the beach. Started walking toward the shore. He did not know why. Something inside him wanted to see what was happening up close. The figure that stepped onto the sand was not human. She was tall, almost 7 feet, with blue skin that looked like smooth stone. She had 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. Her eyes were large and completely black, like 2 pieces of polished obsidian. She wore armor that seemed to be made of some kind of living metal. It moved and shifted as she breathed. Her name was. She was a warrior commander from the Empire, a civilization that had conquered more than 40 planets across 3 galaxies. The people believed they were the strongest species in the universe. They had never lost a war. They had never met an enemy they could not defeat. Looked around at the empty beach. She had expected soldiers, weapons, maybe even a primitive army. Instead, she found only sand and waves and a few curious humans watching from far away. She activated the translator device attached to her throat. When she spoke, her words came out in perfect Korean. "I am of the Empire," she announced, her voice echoing across the beach. "I have traveled across the stars to find this planet. Your species has attracted our attention. We have been watching you for many of your years." More people had gathered now, but they kept their distance. Soldiers from a nearby military base arrived in trucks. They pointed their guns at, but she did not seem worried. She had faced weapons far more dangerous than anything these humans could build. "We do not come to destroy you," continued. "The Empire respects strength. We have seen your wars. We have seen your violence. We believe there may be warriors among you worth fighting." She paused and looked at the crowd of humans. None of them moved. They were frozen with fear. "I challenge your strongest warrior to single combat," said. "If your champion defeats me, the Empire will leave your planet forever. We will mark Earth as protected territory. No one will ever threaten you again." A military officer stepped forward. He was a general, could tell from his uniform. The general's voice shook slightly when he spoke. "And if we lose?" he asked. Smiled, it was not a friendly smile. Her teeth were sharp like a predator's. "If you lose, Earth becomes part of our empire. Your people will serve us. Your resources will belong to us. Your children will be raised as soldiers." The general turned pale. He looked at his soldiers, then back at. "We need time to prepare," he said. "We need to contact our government, organize our best fighters." "You have 1 hour," interrupted. "Bring me your champion. If no one comes, I will consider it a surrender." She walked to a large rock on the beach and sat down. Her 4 arms crossed over her chest. She looked completely calm, like she was waiting for a bus instead of preparing to decide the fate of an entire planet. The general and his soldiers rushed away to make phone calls. News spread quickly. Within 30 minutes, the whole world knew what was happening on that small beach in Korea. Watched all of this from the edge of the crowd. He had moved closer while everyone else moved back. He studied carefully. He noticed how she moved, how she sat, how her eyes tracked every person around her. She was confident. She was strong. She had clearly done this many times before on other planets. An hour passed quickly. Military vehicles arrived from all over the country. Special forces soldiers, martial arts champions, and professional fighters were brought in. They stood in a line, waiting to be chosen as Earth's representative. But something strange happened. Every fighter who stepped forward to volunteer took one look at and changed their mind. Some made excuses, others simply walked away. The alien warrior was too intimidating. Her 4 arms, her size, her alien strength, it was too much. The general was getting desperate. Time was running out. That was when pushed through the crowd. He was still wearing his dirty work clothes. His hands were still stained with motor oil. He was not tall or particularly muscular. He was just an ordinary man who fixed machines for a living. "I will fight her," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. The soldiers laughed. The professional fighters shook their heads. The general stared at him in disbelief. "This is not a joke," the general said. "The fate of our planet depends on this fight." "I know," replied, "but no one else is stepping forward. Someone has to do it." He walked past the general and stepped onto the sand, looked at him with her dark eyes. She did not laugh. She did not smile. She simply studied him the same way he had studied her. "You are my opponent?" she asked. "Yes," said. Stood up, she was almost 2 feet taller than him. Her shadow covered him completely. "You are brave," she said, "but bravery alone will not save your planet. I have killed warriors twice your size. I have broken bones with my bare hands. I have never lost a fight in 300 years. Took a deep breath. His heart was beating fast, but his voice remained steady. "There is always a first time for everything," he said. His eyes widened slightly. Then, for the first time, she laughed. It was a genuine laugh, full of surprise and amusement. "I like you human," she said. "You will die, but you will die with honor. That is more than most species can claim." She extended one of her 4 hands toward the open sand. "The battle will begin at sunset," she announced. "Prepare yourself, warrior of Earth. This will be the last fight of your life." Nodded and walked back to the crowd. His sister was waiting for him. She grabbed his arm, her eyes full of tears. "Are you crazy?" she whispered. "You are going to get killed." Looked at her and smiled softly. "Maybe," he said, "but at least I am trying. That has to count for something." He looked back at who was already preparing for battle. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. In a few hours, the fate of Earth would be decided on this small beach, and somehow felt ready. The sun continued its slow descent toward the ocean. The sky was now a mix of deep orange and purple. Torches had been placed around the beach, creating a large circle of light on the sand. This would be the arena where the battle would take place. Sat alone on a bench near the parking lot. His sister had tried to talk him out of fighting, but he refused to change his mind. Now she sat a few meters away, crying quietly into her hands. Their parents had died when they were young, and they only had each other. If died tonight, would be alone in the world. A group of military officers approached. One of them was carrying a box. "We brought you some equipment," the officer said. "Body armor, weapons, tactical gear, anything you need." Looked at the box but did not open it. "No thank you," he said. "I will fight with what I have." The officer looked confused. "Sir, with respect, you are facing an alien warrior. She has 4 arms and centuries of combat experience. You need every advantage you can get." Shook his head. "Heavy armor will slow me down. Weapons I do not know how to use will only get in my way. I will fight my way." The officer wanted to argue more, but something in his eyes made him stop. There was no fear there, only calm determination. "What is your background?" the officer asked. "Are you a soldier, a fighter?" I am a mechanic, said. I fix cars and motorcycles. The officer's face fell. Then how do you expect to win this fight? Looked toward the beach where was stretching her 4 arms. Each arm moved independently like 4 separate snakes attached to one body. She was fast. She was strong. She was dangerous. I do not expect to win, admitted, but I expect to try, and I expect to learn. Before the officer could respond, a loud horn sounded from the beach. It was time. Stood up and walked toward the arena. People had gathered from all over the country to watch. News cameras were pointed at the circle of torches. The whole world was watching. Ran after him and grabbed his hand. Please, she begged. Do not do this. We can run, we can hide. Maybe someone else will fight her. Stopped and turned to face his sister. He placed his hands on her shoulders. Look around you, he said gently. Everyone is scared. Everyone is waiting for someone else to save them. But that is not how the world works. Sometimes ordinary people have to do extraordinary things. Tears rolled down his cheeks. But why does it have to be you? Smiled. Because I am the one who stepped forward. That is the only reason that matters. He hugged her tightly, then let go and walked into the circle of torches. Was already waiting in the center. She had removed some of her armor, revealing more of her blue skin. Her muscles were visible now, hard and defined like carved stone. She looked even more intimidating than before. You came, she said, sounding slightly surprised. I thought you might run. I do not run, replied. Circled him slowly, studying him from every angle. Her black eyes reflected the torchlight. I have conquered 47 planets, she said. On each planet I challenged their greatest warriors. Some were giants. Some had claws and fangs. Some could breathe fire or move faster than sound. None of them survived more than a few minutes against me. Did not respond. He was watching her movements, the way her feet pressed into the sand, the way her arms swayed at her sides. You are smaller than most of my opponents, continued. Weaker too, I suspect. Your species does not have natural weapons. No claws, no armor, no venom. You are soft creatures. Fragile. Maybe, said, but we are still here. Stopped circling. A slight frown appeared on her face. What do you mean? Met her eyes. You said you have watched our planet. You have seen our wars, our violence. That means you know what we have survived. Ice ages, plagues, wars that killed millions. We should have gone extinct many times, but we did not. We are still here. For a moment said nothing. Then she laughed again, the same surprised laugh from before. You are different from the others, she admitted. Most opponents beg for mercy or make threats. You speak like a philosopher. I speak like someone who has nothing to lose, said. If I win, I save my planet. If I lose, I was dead anyway. Either way, I have no reason to be afraid. Nodded slowly. Something that might have been respect flickered in her eyes. Very well, human. Let us see what you are made of. She raised all 4 of her arms into fighting positions. 2 arms were high, ready to strike downward. 2 were low, ready to grab or block. Raised his fists. They looked pitiful compared to her massive limbs, but he held them steady. The horn sounded again. The fight had begun. Did not waste time. She launched forward with incredible speed, faster than anything had ever seen. Her upper right arm swung toward his head like a hammer. Tried to dodge, but he was too slow. The blow caught him on the shoulder and sent him spinning across the sand. He hit the ground hard, rolling several times before stopping. Pain exploded through his body. It felt like he had been hit by a truck. He could barely breathe. The crowd gasped, screamed his name. Stood in the center of the arena, watching him calmly. That was your first lesson, she said. I am faster than you, stronger than you. You cannot block my attacks and you cannot match my speed. This fight was over before it began. Pushed himself up onto his hands and knees. Sand stuck to the blood on his lip. His shoulder was probably dislocated. He got to his feet anyway. Tilted her head. You can still stand. I can always stand, said. He put his fists up again. His left arm screamed in pain, but he ignored it. Attacked again. This time she used 2 arms at once, a double strike aimed at his chest. Tried to sidestep, but one of her fists caught his ribs. He felt something crack. The impact threw him backward into the sand. The crowd went silent. This was not a fight. This was an execution. But once again got up. He was bleeding from his mouth now. His breathing was ragged, but he stood. Why do you keep getting up? Asked. There was genuine confusion in her voice. You are injured. You cannot win. Any sensible creature would surrender. Spit blood onto the sand. Surrender is not an option, he said. Not for me, not for my people. Studied him for a long moment. Then she attacked again. This time did not try to dodge. He stepped forward directly into her strike. Her fist hit his chest, but he grabbed onto her arm with both hands. For just a second they were locked together. Looked into her eyes. I am learning, he whispered. Then she threw him across the arena like a rag doll. But as lay in the sand, gasping for air, something had changed. He had felt her movements. He had understood just for a moment how she fought. And he knew he could do better. He got up again. Stared at him. For the first time since landing on Earth, she felt something strange in her chest. It was not fear, not exactly. It was uncertainty. And that was something of the Empire had not felt in 300 years. The moon had risen over the ocean. The fight had been going on for almost 2 hours. 2 hours of brutal, one-sided combat that should have ended in the first minute. Lay on the sand, blood dripping from cuts on his face and arms. His right eye was swollen shut. 3 of his ribs were broken. His left shoulder had been dislocated, popped back into place and dislocated again. Every part of his body screamed in agony. And yet he was getting up, again. The crowd watched in stunned silence. They had come expecting to see a quick defeat. Instead, they were witnessing something they could not explain. Every time knocked down, he stood back up. Every time she broke something in his body, he kept fighting. It was impossible. It was insane. It was human. Stood in the center of the arena, breathing harder than she had in centuries. She was not injured, had not landed a single meaningful blow against her, but she was tired in a different way, tired of hitting someone who refused to stay down. Why, she demanded. Why do you keep standing? Your bones are broken, your muscles are torn, you should be unconscious by now, you should be dead. Wiped blood from his good eye. His lips curled into something that might have been a smile. I am stubborn, he said. My sister always says it is my worst quality. Shook her head. This is not stubbornness. This is madness. No creature in the galaxy continues fighting in your condition. It goes against every survival instinct. Took a shaky step forward, then another. Maybe that is what makes us human, he said. We do not always listen to our instincts. Sometimes we listen to something else. Watched him approach. She could end this at any moment. One strong blow to his head and he would never get up again. But something stopped her. Some strange curiosity that she had never felt before. What do you listen to? She asked. Stopped a few feet away from her. He looked up at the stars above them. Hope, he said. Duty. Love. The belief that things can be better, the knowledge that giving up means abandoning everyone who depends on us. He looked back at. I have a sister, he continued. She is all I have in this world. When our parents died, I promised I would always protect her. I promised I would never give up, no matter how hard things became. Was silent. If I surrender now, said, I break that promise. And if I break that promise, then I am not the person I want to be. I would rather die standing than live as someone who gave up. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The waves crashed against the shore. The torches flickered in the wind. Then attacked again. But this time something was different. Had been watching her for 2 hours. He had felt her movements, studied her patterns. He knew when she favored her upper arms and when she used her lower arms. He knew how she shifted her weight before striking. He knew the tiny signals that revealed her next move. When her right fist came toward his face, he ducked. Not perfectly, but enough. The blow grazed his head instead of crushing it. His eyes widened. When her left arm swept toward his legs, he jumped. Again, not perfectly, but he avoided the full impact. Stepped back, genuinely shocked. "You dodged," she said. "How did you dodge?" Was breathing hard. Every movement sent waves of pain through his broken body. But he was still standing, still fighting. "I told you," he said. "I am learning." Attacked again, faster this time. She used all 4 arms in a complex pattern that had overwhelmed warriors with superhuman reflexes. No ordinary creature could track 4 independent attacks at once. Did not try to track all 4. He watched her eyes instead. He had noticed that always looked at where she was about to strike. It was a tiny habit, probably developed over centuries of fighting weaker opponents. She had never needed to hide her intentions before. He dodged the first strike, blocked the second with his forearm, feeling the bone crack under the impact, ducked the third, and then, for the first time in the entire fight, he threw a punch. His fist connected with his stomach. It was not a strong punch. In his current condition, he could barely lift his arms. The impact probably felt like a gentle tap to someone with strength. But it was contact, real contact. Stumbled backward, not from the force of the blow, but from pure surprise. "You hit me," she whispered. "You actually hit me." The crowd erupted. People were cheering, crying, screaming his name. Even the military officers were on their feet, shouting encouragement. Was crying harder than ever, but now there was hope mixed with her tears. Stood in the center of the arena, his body a ruin of blood and broken bones, and smiled. "I am not done yet," he said. Stared at him. Something was happening inside her that she did not understand. She had fought thousands of opponents across dozens of worlds. She had faced creatures with 10 times her strength and speed. None of them had affected her like this weak, bleeding human. "What are you?" she asked quietly. Considered the question. "I am nobody special," he answered. "I am just a mechanic from a small town. I fix things that are broken. That is all I have ever done." He raised his fists again, even though his arms shook with exhaustion. "But maybe that is enough," he continued. "Maybe being ordinary is not a weakness. Maybe it is just another way of being strong." Felt something she had not felt in 300 years. It was small, just a tiny spark in her chest, but it was there. Doubt. She looked at this broken human who should have died hours ago. She looked at his bleeding face, his crooked arms, his shattered body. By every measure, he was the weakest opponent she had ever faced. And yet he was still standing, still fighting, still hopping. For the first time in her long life, wondered if she had misunderstood what strength really meant. The fight was not over. Dawn was still hours away. But something had changed in the arena that night, something that neither the humans nor the alien fully understood. The real battle was just beginning. And deep down, in a place she did not want to acknowledge, was not sure she wanted to win anymore. She pushed that thought aside and raised her 4 arms once more. She was a warrior of the Empire. She did not lose. She could not lose. But as she looked at its battered face, she saw something that scared her more than any weapon. She saw a man who was not afraid to die. And she realized that such a man was almost impossible to defeat. The night had grown cold. Fog rolled in from the ocean, wrapping the beach in a blanket. The torches still burned, but their light seemed weaker now, struggling against the mist. 5 hours had passed since the fight began. 5 hours of combat that had pushed both warriors to their limits. Was exhausted. She had never admitted this to herself before, but she could not deny it now. Her arms felt heavy. Her movements were slower than they had been at the start. She had hit hundreds of times, but each blow cost her energy. Each attack drained something from her. And still the human would not fall. Stood across from her, a broken figure held together by nothing but will. His left arm hung useless at his side. His right leg dragged slightly when he walked. Blood had dried on his face in dark streaks. He looked like a corpse that had forgotten how to die. But his one good eye was still focused, still watching, still learning. "You are tired," said. His voice was rough, damaged from the blows to his throat. "I can see it in your movements." Snarled, "I am not tired. I am merely bored. You are too weak to give me a real fight." "Then why are you breathing so hard?" asked. "Why is your stance wider than before? You are compensating for fatigue. Your lower arms are dropping earlier in each attack sequence. You are not as fast as you were an hour ago." Froze. Everything he said was true. How had this primitive creature noticed such subtle changes? "You think you understand me?" she demanded. "You think a few hours of observation can teach you anything about combat?" Shook his head slowly. "I do not understand your combat, but I understand machines. I have spent my whole life studying how things work, finding patterns, identifying weaknesses. You are not so different from an engine, complex, powerful, but still following patterns." Launched herself at him with renewed fury. She would not be compared to a machine. She was a warrior, not some collection of parts. Her upper arm struck downward, while her lower arms swept from the sides. It was a move that had killed opponents faster and stronger than any human. But was ready. He did not try to block or dodge completely. Instead, he moved just enough. He stepped into her attack rather than away from it, getting inside her reach where her long arms had less power. Her blows glanced off his shoulders and back, painful but not devastating. And then he struck. His right fist drove into the joint where her upper right arm met her shoulder. He had noticed that she favored this arm, used it for her most powerful strikes. He had also noticed that she unconsciously protected a spot just below the joint, keeping it turned away from him during exchanges. There was a reason she protected it. It was weak. Screamed. It was not a scream of pain, but of shock. No one had struck that spot in 200 years. The last creature to do so had been an assassin with 7 arms and a lifetime of training. Had killed him immediately after, but she had never forgotten the vulnerability. She staggered backward, her right upper arm hanging limply at her side. She could still move it, but the joint was damaged. The arm that had broken thousands of bones was now weakened. The crowd went wild. People were hugging each other, jumping up and down, crying with joy. Against all odds, the impossible was happening. Pressed forward, he knew he might never get another chance like this. He attacked with everything he had left, which was not much. His punches were slow and weak, easily blocked by his remaining 3 arms, but each exchange gave him more information. Each movement revealed new patterns. Retreated across the sand, still dangerous but no longer dominant. The certainty that had defined her for 3 centuries was crumbling. "How are you doing this?" she gasped. "You are broken, you should be dead. How are you still fighting?" Paused, swaying slightly on his feet. Blood dripped steadily onto the sand below him. "In my country," he said, "there is an old saying, fall 7 times, stand up 8. It means that failure is not final, defeat is not permanent. As long as you keep getting up, you have not truly lost." He took a shaky breath. "You have knocked me down more times than I can count tonight, but I am still here. I am still standing, and I will keep standing until I cannot stand anymore." Looked at him with new eyes. She had traveled across galaxies, conquered worlds, defeated countless warriors. She had seen strength in many forms, giants who could crush mountains, creatures who could move faster than light, beings of pure energy who could destroy planets with a thought. But she had never seen strength like this. This quiet, stubborn refusal to surrender. This absolute commitment to an ideal that transcended the body and its limitations. "You are going to die," she said. It was not a threat. It was a statement of fact. "Your body cannot take much more. Even if I stop attacking now, you might not survive the night." Nodded, "Probably, but my sister will be free. My people will be safe. And they will know that we did not surrender. They will know that when the darkness came, someone stood up to face it." He raised his fists one more time. "That is worth dying for." Felt something wet on her face. She touched her cheek and found tears. Real tears, something she had not produced in over a century. Her species did not cry often. It was considered a sign of weakness. But looking at this human, this broken mechanic who refused to quit, she did not feel weak. She felt something else entirely, something she could not name. "Why are you crying?" asked. There was no mockery in his voice, only genuine curiosity. Wiped her eyes with one of her working arms. "I do not know," she admitted. "I have not cried since I was a child. I thought I had forgotten how." She really looked at him, seeing past the blood and the broken bones to the spirit underneath. "You are remarkable," she said quietly. "Your species is remarkable. I have fought warriors from every corner of the galaxy, but I have never faced anything like you." Said nothing. He simply waited, ready for whatever came next. Closed her eyes. 100 thoughts raced through her mind. Her duty to the Empire, her reputation as an undefeated warrior, the expectations of her people. And against all of that, the image of a simple mechanic who would not stay down. When she opened her eyes again, something had changed inside her. A decision had been made. "The sun will rise soon," she said. "Let us finish this." She raised her 3 working arms and prepared for the final exchange. Nodded and stepped forward. Whatever happened next, they both knew the universe would never be the same. The first light of dawn appeared on the horizon. Golden rays spread across the ocean, painting the water in shades of pink and orange. The fog began to lift, revealing the devastated arena below. And faced each other one final time. The alien warrior was breathing in short, ragged gasps. Her right upper arm was useless. Her lower left arm was bruised and slow. Even her remaining functional arms trembled with exhaustion. In 300 years of combat, she had never been pushed this far. Was worse, much worse. He could barely see through his swollen eyes. His legs shook with every step. Blood still seeped from wounds that had never stopped bleeding. By any medical standard, he should have been dead hours ago. But he was not dead. He was still standing, still ready. Lunged forward with what remained of her strength. Her attacks were slower now, predictable. Dodged the first strike, took the second on his shoulder and stepped inside her guard once more. He struck her damaged shoulder again. The joint cracked, howled in pain and stumbled backward. She swung with her lower arm but was already moving. He ducked under the blow and drove his fist into her knee. It was not enough force to break it, but she felt the impact. She felt it. Fell to one knee in the sand. The crowd held its breath. No one moved, no one spoke. Stood over her, swaying like a tree in a storm. His fist was raised for another strike. But he did not throw it. Instead, he lowered his arm and took a step back. "It is over," he said quietly. Looked up at him. Her black eyes were wide with confusion. "Kill me," she said. "You have one, finish it." Shook his head. "I did not fight you to kill you. I fought you to protect my people. That goal is achieved." Stared at him in disbelief. "I came to conquer your world. I challenged you to combat. By the laws of the Empire, you have every right to execute me." Extended his hand toward her. The same hand that had been striking her moments ago was now offered in help. "I am not interested in your Empire's laws," he said. "I am interested in doing what is right. And killing a defeated enemy who is no longer a threat is not right." Looked at his bloody, broken hand. She had crushed bones with her bare fists. She had broken the spines of creatures 10 times stronger than this human, and yet this same fragile being was offering her mercy. She had never experienced mercy before. In her culture, defeat meant death. The weak were eliminated so the strong could thrive. It was the natural order of things. It was the only order she had ever known. Slowly, almost against her will, she took his hand, pulled her to her feet. The effort nearly made him collapse, but he held steady. They stood facing each other as the sun rose behind them. Human and alien, victor and vanquished. Two warriors who had spent the night trying to destroy each other, now connected by something neither of them fully understood. His voice was barely a whisper. Your bodies break, yet your spirits do not. Your strength fades, yet your will remains. What are you? Considered the question for a long moment. We are human, he finally said. We are weak, we are fragile, we die easily and we fear death. But we also dream, we hope, we love. And when we love something, we fight for it until our last breath. He gestured toward the crowd behind him, toward his sister, who was crying with joy, toward the soldiers and the civilians and the children who had stayed awake all night to watch. Every person here is precious to me, continued. Not because they are strong, not because they are useful, but because they are alive, because they dream and hope and love just like I do. That is why I fought. That is why I could not lose. Looked at the crowd, at the humans who should have been her slaves by now. They were cheering, hugging each other, celebrating a victory that should have been impossible. And suddenly she understood. The Empire had conquered 47 planets by being the strongest. They had crushed every enemy through superior power and technology. They had never lost because they had never faced an opponent who truly could not be beaten. But humans were different. Humans could always be beaten physically. Their bodies were weak, easily damaged, quick to die. Yet that weakness was also their strength. Because they knew they could die at any moment, they valued life more intensely. Because they knew they were fragile, they protected each other more fiercely. They were not strong despite their weakness. They were strong because of it. Fell to her knees again, not from exhaustion this time, but from understanding. I yield, she announced, her voice carrying across the beach. By the laws of the Empire, Earth is protected territory from this day forward. No ship shall enter this solar system. No warrior shall threaten these people. She looked up at, You have earned your freedom, human, you and your entire species. The crowd exploded with joy. People were screaming, dancing, crying. The sound was deafening but barely heard it. His vision was fading. His body, pushed far beyond its limits, was finally giving out. He collapsed onto the sand. Was at his side instantly, holding his head in her lap. Soldiers rushed forward with medical equipment. Helicopters descended from the sky, bringing doctors and supplies. Looked up at his sister's face. She was crying again, but smiling this time. Did we win? He asked weakly. Laughed through her tears. Yes, you stupid idiot, we won. You saved everyone. Smiled and closed his eyes. When he woke up 3 weeks later in a hospital bed, the world had changed. He was a hero, the most famous person on the planet. Leaders from every country wanted to meet him. Scientists wanted to study him. Reporters wanted to interview him. But the first visitor he allowed was. The alien warrior entered his room quietly. Her arm was in some kind of alien cast, slowly healing. She moved differently now, less like a predator and more like a guest. You survived, she said, standing at the foot of his bed. I am stubborn, replied with a small smile. Remember. Nodded, something that might have been a smile crossed her alien features. I have contacted my empire, she said. I told them what happened here. I told them about humans, about you. Raised an eyebrow and sat down in a chair beside his bed. They do not believe me. They think I am weak, that I failed. They are sending another warrior to verify my claims. Sighed, so it begins again. Perhaps, said, But this time you will not fight alone. I will stand with you." Looked at her in surprise. "Why?" Looked out the window at the blue sky beyond. "Because I learned something on that beach," she said. "I learned that true strength is not about power or size or speed. It is about what you are willing to die for. And now, for the first time in my life, I have found something worth protecting." She looked back at him. "I have found people who refuse to give up, and I want to learn how to be like them." Smiled and extended his hand once more. This time, took it without hesitation. Outside the window, the sun was shining on a world that had been changed forever. A world where humans had proven that they belonged among the stars. A world where an ordinary mechanic had become an extraordinary hero. A world where even the mightiest warrior could learn something new. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other eyes were watching, other minds were wondering. What exactly were these creatures called humans? They were about to find out.